Right.
Different, you know, much different. All
Yeah.
right. Peace, everybody. We just getting it all, everybody in, getting everything situated. Waiting for folks to come on in for another amazing night. You know, it's so beautiful to be able to build and vibe with such beautiful people. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful beings. You know, important topics. You know what I mean? And a lot of topics that people really don't know much about. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like doing it so much because I always learn more stuff too. So you know what I mean? So it's truly an honor to be able to be in the presence and talk, build with good brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? So we appreciate y'all coming in. Yeah, come on, keep on coming in, please. Um, if you haven't already, please like or follow the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. If you haven't already, Cherokee kid in the house. What up, brother? Good brother. um, you see, yeah, like I said, we another amazing night, another amazing guest. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I see you. I see you in Facebook world. Rahubat, Zamal, Rahubat. Got my Musar out there. Soon
There
to be,
we go.
hopefully soon to be on a, soon to be on the show. There we go. We got you. You know what I'm saying? So yes, like I said,
Yeah,
there we
just
go. We
getting
we
that
we
that
in
second
business.
camera on point.
Yeah. We in business
There.
now. We in business. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying, if you haven't already, please follow the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. Please share this as well out to the people. And if you don't know Polka Dot Rabbit podcast, we are out here. Me and my other co-hosts and my even my guests are here to uplift humanity. You know what I mean? Because we're in that day and time in which we all need upliftment. In addition, we're here to help assist elevating and help wake up the melanated, woolly-haired beings that have been asleep for quite some time. And glad to say that, you know, happy to see that some of us are starting to wake up. So very happy to be a part of that. You know, if you haven't already, please go to polkadot.rabbitpodcast.com, pick up my book, Bicultural Living and Losing the World of Illusions. A lot of people always ask why I have so much diversity. I think your phone might be. I mean, your phone might. Jeff, I think yeah. I'm hearing some. Yeah, you might want to turn
Need
your
some
phone.
feedback. Okay, hold on.
Yeah. Echo. You might have to turn your phone down
Yeah.
because it might be going into your mic, other mic. Um, but like I said, people always ask me, you know, why, you know, you got such why you think a certain way, why you have a diverse guest on here, um, all these different things. Read the book; it explains it all. Read the book. You know what I'm saying? Read the book. And for y'all, Masar, I hope y'all can see. I see that pyramid right under my name. I hope y'all know where, who, and what that's about. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. Me for me, Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. You know what I'm saying? That's it for me. I'm gonna go ahead and let the good brother, I am Jeffrey, go ahead and tell him, explain who he is, what he does, where he comes from. Go ahead, brother. You got the floor, my good brother. Okay. Yeah, I can't hear
Okay.
you on. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
There you go.
All right. So you got any kind of echo, anything like that, or is everything cool?
It doesn't. I'm not hearing one on my end. You said it. Whoop. There it goes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's gonna be. Yeah. It's gonna be a lag, but you good. You just cut off on the other one, so just so yeah. Peace, everybody. Peace. There you go. Coming back in here. There we go. Back in the house.
All
Okay.
right. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
gonna be a
Cool.
little lag.
All right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little lag, but it's all good. It's all good. Go ahead, brother. The floor is
I'm gonna pop the
yours.
sound up on this side. All right. Cool. Hold
Okay.
on one sec. Boom. There we go. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure I got us in everything's on point moving forward. Greetings, everybody. I am Jeffrey. In the Teutonic language, Jeffrey means God's peace on earth. Let's see. I'm a proud father and a Tantric Sexologist. I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 36 years. I specialize in helping women and couples achieve higher states of orgasmic consciousness to harmonize the mind, body, and soul with spirit, and also to holistically heal from past trauma and to also become the best versions of themselves. And so, like I said, I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 36 years. Ever since I was 14 years old, and I watched my mother go through her transformation in overcoming hypertension and pre-stage diabetes holistically. And that's where my inspiration came from. And then also watching her drop over 100 pounds just by changing her diet and then instituting different types of herbs into her daily regimen, and then walking. That was it. And a year and a half, almost 2 years later, she was fully healed. And so that's where I got my start. Back then, as a child, as a teenager, we had that wheat germ and wheatgrass and aloe vera juice and all the other stuff. I couldn't stand it, but lo and behold, you sow those seeds early, and they end up coming full circle. Once you reach your age when you realize that, yeah, how important it actually was, and it became a way of life for me. I got serious about it when my oldest daughter had emergency brain surgery from an aneurysm that she suffered when she was 12 years old. I think that was back in 04, 2004. And I saw how they pretty much, I don't want to use the word railroaded us, but the outcome, she survived, everything worked out. But I found out afterwards, I took her to get a bioresonance scan. And when I did that, because it was crazy, because in the hospital, great surgeon, not gonna take nothing from him. I saved her life. She was good to go. But when I found out that not 90% of the stuff that happened to her didn't have to happen, and especially not the operation, cutting out a section of her brain and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? And they can never explain as to why this even happened to her. And so because of that, I wanted answers. And so I went and I had a friend of mine, she recommended a Chinese medicine doctor over in Cali. And from there, did the bioresonance scan. And in less than 5 minutes afterwards, he broke down exactly why it happened, how it happened, the causes of the aneurysms, and everything that the doctors had no explanation for. And within the type of an explanation that they did attempt to give, made absolutely no sense. It was just like, okay, we're just gonna give you an answer and expect you to take it. And I was like, oh no, this can't happen like this. And it was, and the thing is, she ended up being initially after the operation, she lost functionality of the left side of her body. She was paralyzed, left arm and left leg. She was told, actually, they didn't tell her, they told me that she'd never be able to walk again and operate, in a normal fashion. And I swore up and down. I said, nah, that's not the life that I'm gonna have for her. And that's when I started going deep on the research, and I found out about how people can rebuild the brain dendrites and recover from operation, having those sections of your brain cut out like that, and actually, brain damage. Actually, that's essentially what it is. And just learned about neurological functions and how to repair that. And 6 months later, from that point, I instituted a process from Dr. Sebi, Dr. Rab, and Dr. Goss. And within 6 months, she was back up, walking. Like to this day, you would never know that anything had ever happened to her. And then from that point forward, that's when I started diving deeper into the space. And because I swore, if anything ever happened to another, I would never want to put one of my children in that position again. And so that's when I started getting more serious about it. And then it was about 2 years later, I had suffered early stage prostate cancer. And what that came from, my first wife, we started dating at the time, and I had been a vegetarian, good almost what 6-7 years by that time, and I was dabbling in it. I was pretty solid, but not all of what I could have been in the space. Um, and we started dating, and we kind of were doing something a little bit different. She's like, it's the first time I ever cooked for a man and stuff like that. And she's learning to want to become more of a wife type and whatnot. And so I remember I came through those doors. I was the sun was hot. She had on little short shorts, a little short top, and she's like, "I made dinner for you." And I'm like, "Oh wow!" I'm thinking it's gonna be some vegetarian something, and then there was some smothered chicken with some smothered, fried this and fried that, and she was like, "Yeah, you ready for it?" And I was like, "Yeah." I saw all that ass popping off them shorts, and I was just like, I
Bring it
don't
on.
eat this, but I'm
Bring
eating
on the breast,
that
the chicken
tonight.
breast.
I'm just gonna say no. And then from there, shoot, whenever she was cooking, I was eating it. I wasn't gonna shut it down. The thing is, um, it started to clog up my plumbing down below. It started clogging up my prostate. All that meat and stuff. I ain't gonna lie, it was good. She could throw down, but it was tearing my ass up.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, and the cold part is I didn't find out until because we decided we were going to abstain until we got married, and so it was almost 9 months later. It was almost about 8-9 months later. I didn't find out until our honeymoon night, and I went to go in, and and I was shut down. Yeah, that was a cold pill to swallow. Oh my God. Yeah, trying to explain that we didn't waited all this time and then poof. Yeah,
Wah, 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 wah.
yeah, just work. Yeah, uh, and, and so that's when I linked up with Dr. Goss, actually his assistant, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we know, go get Iridology screening." And I was kind of skeptical about it at the time. I was like, "Okay, you really gonna look in my eyes and tell me everything that's wrong with me?" Like, yeah, right. And so I went in. I was like, "I ain't telling y'all nothing. I'm just gonna go in there stone face and let you tell me what was going on." And I remember when she first started going in and had my eye on the iriscope and she was looking. And the first thing she asked me, she said, "Do you have issues with your shoulder?" And I was like, "Nah, why?" Well, no, I mean, I can see that you had something that happened to your shoulder. And I'm thinking back, like, oh, well, yeah. I was like, yeah, when I was 12, I had separated my collarbone and broke my wrist in a motocross accident. And I'm like, you can see that? And then after that, I was just like, all right, what you want to know? I'm like, how you know? She's like, oh yeah, well it shows like there's a section in there. I was like, oh yeah, all right, I'm in. What you need to know? And then after that, she started breaking it down, and she's like, yeah, you having issues, in your genital area, like in your prostate. And I'm like, yeah, I feel kind of cold. And she's like, yeah, that's because you got lack of circulation, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, all right. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to learn this. And then that's when I started really going on a succession of just learning different modalities and realizing and just being open, to just the full spectrum. And so from there, it just expanded and I just rolled with it. And so then over the years, I hadn't done it. I wasn't doing it professionally. It's just like family, friends, somebody needed something. I'd always, I'd tap in. Like my mother had suffered a heat stroke. She was out there gardening. It was 113 degrees. And she was out there getting it. And then she liked to walk. And so she was walking to the store. And so I had instituted a protocol from Dr. Rab and Dr. Sebi. And then she was good to go. The big thing though is when my daughter was 18, my oldest daughter, the aneurysm came back,
Mm.
um, her first year. And the biggest issues from that that caused the aneurysms was there's a diet, stress,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's also an emotional component or past trauma that
Mm.
when people are holding on to certain things. And as a matter of fact, when it really comes down to it, she actually ended up having 3 episodes of aneurysms from the time she was 18 up until she was in her mid 20s. And so the second time around, this is the second time around. This was 2010, 2011. Um, and this is when, rather than we took her to the hospital, got checked out. So it said she was stable. It's uh, a remedy that we use is called V19 juice, and it's a mixture of
Mm.
19 fruits, actually 19 vegetables, and you blend them up. It tastes god awful, but the protocol will over a series. If you use it for a period of about 90 days, it's equivalent to having like a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the theory behind it is with all those 19 vegetables, it has so many minerals and enzymes and whatnot that what it will do is it'll bombard the system
Yeah.
with that to the point
Mm-hmm.
where it first it starts to heal whatever the issue is, and
Mm-hmm.
then it starts to rejuvenate the body. And so the
Mm.
longer you take it, the more. And so that's what helped to stabilize her. And then once we saw that she was stable, then I reinstituted the protocol, a new updated protocol from Dr. Sebi, Dr. Reb, and Dr. Goss. And 6 weeks later, she was taking her finals. And so the thing is, it happened so seamlessly because before that, the first time around, she had emergency brain surgery. They cut all her hair off. She couldn't walk.
Mm-hmm.
She had to relearn all, how to, to use her motor skills. And this
Yeah.
time around, 6 weeks later, she's taking her finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it happened so easily. She took it for granted, and she started doing the same, because it was her freshman year in school, and burning the candle at both ends, staying up late, had an early class. She was a vegetarian, but her idea of being a vegetarian was eating fries at lunchtime. And so it caught back up to her, but she took it
Yeah.
for granted, and so it came back on her a year later.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, this time it was causing seizures, and she lost
Mm.
her license, and that's when she started getting serious about it.
Serious.
So
Yeah.
went back to the same protocol. 6 weeks later, she was good. Yeah, but the seizures lasted probably about almost 7, 8 months,
Mm.
and so that's when she, and that from that point forward, she was good up until her first year in grad school. And I told her, I said, "Bet, do not get married the same time you about to start grad school." She's like, "Oh, no, I can do it. I got it. I got it. I can do it." I'm like, "No, baby, trust me." And she's like, "Nah, I got it." I'm like, "All right, I'm just telling you, like, you can't do both at the same time, but
Mm.
whatever you got, I will support you." And she was scheduled to get married a month after she started school at SC, and she ended up, um, and her wedding coordinator, um, like, shut down, had some nervous breakdown, some kind of issues, and basically, 3 weeks before the wedding was supposed to kick off, um, she was left. My daughter was left trying to put everything together on her own
By herself.
with no
Yeah.
wedding coordinator, and so that
Stress.
stress caught up to her.
Mm.
Yeah, that stress caught up to her. Plus, she was doing, yeah, that stress. Yeah, stress triggered it. And 2 weeks before the wedding, she had another episode. I had a seizure in the bathroom at SC at school during class.
Mm.
And so the bleeding started back up. We got it stable. She was good. She did her wedding. And the thing is, the program that she was in was dealt with like mental health and awareness and whatnot.
Mm.
And she got her master's in what do you call it? Master's in social work. And so the big component of that was mental health. And what she learned about that, the number one subject in that program was yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was herself. And she started to go through a lot of self-study and started to identify the mental challenges that she was faced with, the emotional things she was holding on to. And that actually really was a game changer for me as well as herself, because when you look at um, the holistic approach to health and wellness, a lot of times people think, okay, I can give you these herbs and you're going to be good. And to a certain extent, yeah, you can. Or I can deal with you from a different school of thought, from the mental side, from the emotional component. Or I can deal with you from the spiritual component. I can with you from an energetic component. And so a lot of people only specialize in one thing. And if you really want to, today's day and age, you have to deal with things from a 360-degree view. Yeah, yeah, because you can't just deal with it from one angle. Sometimes you can, but a lot of times, people's situations are complex. The biggest component, though, I would say, is energetically and emotionally. And so that's where I shifted from the whole herbal side, the iridology and things like that, into the tantric space, because it deals with people from an energetic standpoint, which is typically the number one route. If you can deal with it from there, you can connect when a person's disconnected energetically and spiritually, then it opens the doorway for all other types of issues. Yeah. And so once she started dealing with her emotional challenges and whatnot, and cleared that, no problems. Not even no issue since then. And so that's what shifted me into that space as well. And
So I have a question. It's real interesting because I see you, I see Adara, I see all y'all doing energy work and stuff, and I see a big reaction when y'all are doing it, right? And I'm wondering, like, energy blocking. Like, I'm gonna go back since we're talking about kids. Like, even dealing with kids, children, I should say. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I make sure that. Could you hear me? You can hear me. Okay. Like dealing for children, and dealing with energy. Is it possible even for children to have like energy blockages and like
yeah, there we go.
even different like entities that they might have attracted or they might have came in with? And are that is there is that possibilities? And there's also ways to extract that out of them if that is a possibility.
Uh, yeah, when it comes to children, that's usually where it starts at.
Yeah.
Yeah, those blockages come from our childhood.
Hmm.
Our parents, number one,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
issues or challenges that have happened over time, things that we pick up. When we talk about just the whole space of orgasmicness, that's a
Hmm.
natural state of being. Because people are like, well,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Are you doing to people? I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just holding space to
Hmm.
help people reawaken or reconnect with what they naturally are.
Hmm.
And so, like, say, for instance, for me,
Hmm.
my story is my mother. Um, I was molested, beat, um, abused emotionally, physically, and sexually.
Hmm.
And, it caused some serious issues for me over time,
Yeah.
as a child. And so, um, and then when you look at like, I don't like to speak bad about anybody's, religion or anything like that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
focus on spirituality as opposed to, religion itself,
Dogma.
because a lot of religions have a tendency to shame people,
Yeah.
especially because there's two ways that we're suppressed in this society. No, two main reasons, or two main
Hmm.
ways that it's done. It's through religious shaming,
Yeah.
and it's also done through perversion, like porn and stuff like that.
Yeah. 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 True.
And,
True.
and so when you can shut down a people through shut them down sexually, you've cut them off from
Yeah.
their creative center. You've
That
cut
makes
them
sense.
off from independent thought. You've cut them off from anything that allows them. You've cut them off from their sovereignty.
Yeah.
in that space. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
see things, these blockages, and then inadvertently, this stuff is passed down, generationally. And so, and that's just from people to like with little girls and whatnot, they be all giggling and fun and ah!
Mm-hmm.
That's orgasmic energy. The little girls giggling
Yeah.
and all that laughter. And then when they hit like early teens, they're told to sit down and be quiet. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's not everything that's not ladylike. I
That's
mean,
not ladylike. Yeah.
there's space for it, but there's also a situation where you're shutting her down to
Mm-hmm.
where um, she's no longer exuding that
Mm-hmm.
feminine quality, and so it
Wow.
goes and it starts. That seed is sowed when she's young, and then by the time she's in her 20s, 30s, and 40s, now she's got 40s, she's got fibroids because she's
Yeah.
been shutting her femininity down for so long, and
Mm.
this is passed down. A lot of it
Damn.
comes from um, incest, molestation in
Mm-hmm.
families and stuff like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when the mothers trying to protect their daughters from what might have happened to them, and so they
Mm-hmm.
want to shut them down their sexuality so that
Mm.
they're not desired or viewed as desirable by
Mm-hmm.
potential predators.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, you've got a whole generations of women
Mm-hmm.
that are totally shut down and
Mm-hmm.
separated from their feminine energy. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
look at the mass levels of hysterectomies, mastectomies, all that stems from pent up trauma and
Energy block.
shut down femininity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
And then in
Mm-hmm.
the men, when you got these young boys and they strong and vigorous and
Mm-hmm.
they just running around and got all this energy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, sit down and shut up, be quiet. Go. Why are you so wild and why are you so uncontrollable? I mean, well, the number one thing is because the parents be feeding them all the sugar.
Yeah. Woo. You preach,
That's the
brother.
number one thing. Parents be feeding
Preach.
them all the sugar.
And sugar boy.
That Yeah, that'll alleviate half the problem there.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to channel them. They got
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
they got all this vigor, and so what happens is, especially if you got like an alpha male, like
Yeah.
a young man that's like he's gonna be a leader. And I had to really
Mm-hmm.
came into this understanding with my son. I'm glad I had him last because I have
Mm-hmm.
4 children, so I had him last because I had a better understanding and appreciation for uh, in honing him, because it was a level of, because he was the prime example of what I'm explaining. That boy is all out doing, always into
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
jumping off the stuff,
Yeah.
busting his head on stuff. It's just wow. It's all out
Wow.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That energy.
But I wanted to structure and channel him in a way that I didn't shut him down,
Mm-hmm.
because that bigger, that fight, that go get himness that he has, that's the same thing that's gonna make him successful in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you sit there and castrate him and shut him down, and and put him in a box, now you separating them from his divine masculinity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of, especially and no shade on single moms, but a lot of times they have a tendency to do this to their boys, and they boys never get a chance to really grow up, become fully developed men,
Yeah.
or fully
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
their masculinity as adults. And so because
Mm-hmm.
they're emotionally and physically emotionally and
Mm-hmm.
mentally
Castrated.
castrating them.
Castrated. Yep. That makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And so when you talk about these blockages, and so what that
Mm-hmm.
shows up as in the men is impotence
Yeah.
when they get older. So yeah,
Yeah.
those blockages, 99% of them start from an early age.
That is stuff. It's what you say is so true, man. Because I say this all the time, on this podcast, and like, you know, us men, we really don't have, the a rites of passage. You know what I mean? A structure, a rites of passage to, and also ways to, like you said, channel that energy. Because like in America over here, it's just sports. Go play sports. Go jump. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
that's only a certain aspect of manlyhood. You know what I'm saying? You're not putting the other parts together. It's very difficult to have a full structured, you know, black man or female in the society. You know what I'm saying? Just because, like you said earlier, religion comes in, they do their thing to swipe you down. You know what I'm saying? The diet, they got the food pyramids ass backwards. You know, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
every angle is a way to just suppress, not only the God and goddess in all of us, but just us literally became just male and females at the highest level. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
It's you
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying? It's crazy to me, man. I talk about that a lot, but shout out to all the spiritual systems and all the great master teachers that have given us, rites of passages, and structure and culture, to get us in the right direction. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. And this is a two-part question. Okay, this is more so for people that might not really know. For number one is, what exactly is holistic healing? Okay, because it's this more so for the people that might be new. And in addition, what exactly is Tantra?
Okay. A holistic healing. That's a in the Western version of that would be integrative healing. And so it's dealing with individuals from not just one aspect of whatever their challenge is. And so ultimately, the biggest challenge most people have that isn't really talked about is the emotional
Mm,
trauma that
yeah.
causes diseases.
Mm,
Because when you look at the psychosomatic causes, it's usually based on because two people can do the exact same thing, but
mm,
or experience the same exact same be in the exact same environment, and one
mm,
because of how they think or how they're processing a situation will it'll turn into full blown cancer, and the other person they'll live till they're 100 years old without with no challenges. And so
mm,
what was the difference? It is based on how they their approach to whatever it is they're dealing with. I mean, they can be
mm.
twins. One
Yeah,
twin
yeah,
grew up in the exact
yep.
same environment, have
The other one
pretty
torn
much
up.
as similar conditions as you can imagine, and
Mm,
and have a situation turning and both respond completely differently.
mm,
Just to give you an idea of the psychosomatic causes, or an example of what that looks like. It was back in the day. I want to say it's back in like the early '70s.
mm,
There was two ladies. They both went into the doctor at the same time, and they were one was really sick, and the other one was just going in for like a checkup or whatnot. And I think she might have had a cold, but and somehow once they did the exams, their charts were switched. The charts fell and they got
oh yeah, I
switched.
heard about that.
One had full blown cancer. The one that was really sick, like literally, she did have it. The other just had like a flu, and the charts got switched. And so the one that had ended up having full blown cancer was told, "Oh, you got a flu. Just deal with, here's a protocol for that,
Mm,
and you'll be okay." The one that had the flu was told that she had full blown cancer. She needed to get her affairs in order, and it said you got about 6 months.
oof.
Yeah, she died in 3. Yeah,
From the flu.
and the
Mm,
one that found, and the reason why the story came out is because somehow years later it was found out that the charts were switched somehow, and the one that ended up living told the story. Yeah, and so that gives you an understanding of, because what happens is when somebody is told something and they believe it to their core,
mm-hmm.
they believe it on a subconscious level, it starts
Yeah,
to manifest itself because
in the
now you start
reality.
wrapping
Yeah.
your mind around, what does this look like? What does this feel like? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And especially start seeing images of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what is a person that looks like that's terminal from cancer? And boom, they start embodying the whole. And so and so when you look at things, so in an emotional standpoint, energetic standpoint, that's probably the most important. and societally, in the Western society, everything's, medicate, medicate, medicate. It's more of
Yeah.
a sick care, or as opposed to, curing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, from a holistic standpoint, you look at, the herb side of it, which is great. Um, but at the same time, if a person's still messed up, or having these issues energetically,
Yeah. Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually, they're disconnected. Those herbs only gonna do but
Ain't
so
gonna do
much.
nothing.
Yeah,
That's like the fixing the interior of a car that got a jacked up engine. You know what I'm
exactly. 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 I'm gonna put some brand new paint on
Yeah, you
here,
know what I'm saying? Let's see
but
how this
yeah, yeah,
put some
but yeah,
black
the
tape
whole
over the check engine light.
yeah, exactly. And so when we talk about holistic healing, a holistic
Hmm.
medicine, a holistic approach, it deals with the person from all aspects
Hmm.
of the causes of whatever their dis-ease is,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah. I see.
their challenges are, not just one shoe fits all. Take this and see how it turns out.
So how does that look like? Just bringing everything full circle, herbal, spiritual. Like what's the template? What would be like the template for that?
Initially, like for me, when I deal with a client, like my focus is from a tantric standpoint.
Okay.
The reason being is if there is something close to um, a baseline to start from, what's worked for me in my experiences is that I like to deal with people with helping them feel correct themselves from an energetic standpoint, because
Hmm.
energetically, when a person is detached from their energy bodies,
Hmm.
um, we are reflect our physical body is a reflection of what's happened to us, what's going on energetically, what
Mm.
types of holes that are existing in our auras, that
Hmm.
need to be filled or addressed, for any number of reasons. And so, the tantric energy healing aspect of it fills those holes in, and then those gaps, and then it starts to manifest and clear them, physically. And so, the energetic blockages start to clear up the blockages physically, and then we can move it from there. And then, if a person, they got various, I deal with people from a dietary standpoint, because
Yeah.
a lot of people eat themselves to death, literally.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and and then you look at like the quality of the foods nowadays, man. I don't even know if you can call it food. Uh,
Man,
uh yeah,
garbage.
all the GMO stuff, man, is horrible. And so, they got plastic and stuff in food now, and styrofoam, and
Vaccines,
all types
mRNA.
of crap. I'm like, how you expect? But I mean, I know. I mean, there's a plan to it. I don't want to get into that side
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's we talk about the almighty dollar. There's a direct conflict between, raising the bottom line for these major corporations,
Yeah, yep,
and
yep.
us being healthy. And so,
Sick bastards, man.
so I deal with people from a dietary standpoint, and so from an energetic standpoint, it's sort of like the platform, the jump off point, and then
Hmm.
from there, now we can explore all the other aspects of what needs to be done, or whatever else is going on in a person's life.
Hmm.
But if I lay it in and say, "Hey, I'm doing all this too," it's overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah. That's right.
it's
Yeah,
sort of,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So here's an
I can
entry
see that.
point,
Yeah.
and it's a solid entry point,
Yeah.
because ultimately, if we didn't do anything else but just do the tantra work over time, whatever their challenges are, as long as they're doing the work on their
Hmm.
end, they'll see the results that they want.
That I remember I had an interview with I was building with Master Yao once, right? And he was talking about the light being. I think that's what he called the light being. And it's interesting, like when you're talking here, because when you're talking in my mind, you're painting a picture. I see a body and I see a light being inside the body, and I see it like at a dim light. And you know what I'm saying? And like being able to have this ease in that body because the light is dim, and but also I'm seeing a bright light like spreading with doing the right things and just pushing everything out and getting everything, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's That's like what I'm visualizing the way you're talking right now. And I it completely makes sense to have all, circuits running for you, for this body on all levels. the physical, the spiritual. You know what I mean? It makes absolute perfect sense in how this ease can creep in when there's disconnection. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
you know, it
Absolutely.
makes perfect sense. All right, so you talk about like the almighty dollar, you know what I'm saying? Now, what do you think about when when you're doing things for money, versus doing things that where you actually called to do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, that was the journey that I've been on recently. As a matter of fact, that's probably been I don't want to say my karmic lesson, but the
Hmm.
overall theme for my life, as
Yeah, yeah,
far
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
um yeah, you know what? I stand corrected. That is one of my karmic lessons besides in the past, what was it? Abuses of love in my past life.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's actually what kind of those are two things that actually led me to this point today where I'm at. The thing about
No, you went off. You had to just click back in. But you still, yeah, you still, okay, you come back in. All right. Oh, there you go. Got you.
cool.
You back.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right. Yeah. And so yeah, one of my biggest challenges throughout my lifetime, it is, and the lessons have come back
Hmm.
multiple times, um, is doing things to make that dollar. Because
Hmm.
I ain't gonna lie. I mean, my early years, I came up on the streets and whatnot. Born in the '70s, a teen in the '80s.
Hmm.
It was, went down that left path for me.
Hmm. I'm sorry. You cut off on StreamYard again. You cut off on StreamYard again. Oh, there you know, you back. But go ahead. Okay, you
Yeah, that
back.
was
Go
the
ahead.
first time that I actually had thought about somebody outside of myself and
Yeah,
realized that I had a greater purpose for being here outside of,
yeah,
making
yeah,
money and getting at women and stuff like that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah.
I actually was getting at girls because I was in high school at the time. And so, but it was always a hustle. It was always that street, you know, everything was, make a move, do this, make a move, do this. My whole motivation was how much money can I make off of what I was
Yeah.
doing, and that became a way of
Hmm.
life for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, way, did my thing in that, um, and then from there, messed around and I had bought 11 houses 6 months before the crash.
Oof.
It lost everything. Oh my God. And then from there, I got into business finance and rode that wave up, thought it was good, not
Hmm.
realizing that one's connected to the next, and then the banks
Yeah, yeah.
crashed.
Hmm.
And then from there, but the thing is, everything I was doing, I liked it because the money I was making,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
up in the seven figures, you know,
Hmm.
and so over time, um, I came to the realization that like, okay, and that was still something that was inbred in me. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when I
yeah. Of
started
course.
getting into the whole spirituality aspect component of
Hmm.
the health and wellness and whatnot, and that wasn't until like 2014 when I started coming to the understanding of the spiritual components of you know, what that looks like for me, and understanding that, you know, there's a higher purpose above and beyond just working to go get that
more than just money.
yeah. And so and that's literally is when I opened up my wellness center in Malibu. And so and the focus was on holistic massage, and then I kind of, you know, worked in everything else, and then from there everything else just started modalities from there moving forward. And so um yeah and so
I'm sitting here listening to you. It's so interesting, man, because you know this life thing, man. Woo wee. If you are conscious and aware, I ain't talking about that crazy woke talk, none of that crap, but when you really understand what life really is about, when you really try to see what you're here for, and you can see why, you know, your mistakes you made, and you can internalize it, you know what I'm saying? This life thing, man, it's an amazing thing because, you know, it's ever continuous just growth. You know what I mean? You know, and lessons. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing, man, and it can be tough, as we all know. But once you realize we're here and it's a school, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. But I'm saying all this because once you have individuals like you that are able to help assist you get to where you have to go to get your being right, that's like a game changer. You know what I'm saying? That you know that's one of the, if you ask me, it's one of the most important tools that you can have is just getting yourself right. And you know, and energetically, you know, physically. Of course, you got tools like numerology and all these different things, but you know, we aren't given any of these tools. We have to all go out and search it for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a part of the lesson. We have to, like, you know, dig deep because they ain't gonna teach you none of this stuff in school. You know what I'm saying? So next thing you know, once you catch that bug, you just like reading everything, experiencing everything. You know what I'm saying? Because you realize that you need all this components to become a complete being. You know what I mean? And you know, it's just you know what I'm saying? It's a this life thing is a beautiful thing. Let me ask you a question. Do you at all dabble like mushrooms, like psilocybin, that type? Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question as well. We're gonna go back a little bit because I heard that mushrooms help helps like rebuild things in the brains. I think nerves as well, if I'm not mistaken. Was that something that your daughter helped her with that as well? To help your daughter out? Pardon me? Okay, okay. Hmm.
chiropractor.
Okay.
And I remember we were going hiking up in Malibu, and he was like, Jeff, man, I told he was like, and we were talking, he's like, yeah, man, I got some goodies for us. I thought he was talking about some herb or stuff like that. And we roll, we link up, and then boom, we pull out this bag of shrooms. I'm like, oh shit, like, nah, I ain't fucking with that, like, nah. Like, and he
That's the
was like, no,
devil.
Jeff. He's like, Jeff, trust me, I'm a doctor. And this was
Yeah.
just before I started my what class was that? Quantum touch, of course. And so that's when I really started getting deep on the energy side.
Hmm.
And it was literally the week before that. And it was the best thing that could ever happen to me because
Yeah.
that shift that happened.
Yeah.
Because he was
Yeah.
like, I was like, Mike, man, I ain't doing it. He's like, Jeff, trust me. I'm a
Yeah.
doctor. I
Yeah.
got you. You
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
thing is, I'm hypersensitive to anything. Like I
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
take like
Yeah.
some Dayquil or something like that and be knocked out. I
Be
mean,
torn out. Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, bro, I can't deal with certain, you know, with He's like, man, trust me. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
but and it was the best experience, man. Oh my God. Yeah, the heels
Yeah.
started rolling and it turned into ultraviolet. And I could read people's minds and stuff. That was these white
Yeah.
girls
Yeah.
walking
Yeah.
down the
You can
trail.
hear it.
And I'm like looking
Wide
and I can
open.
hear them like, yeah, I can hear their thoughts and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I can feel like started feeling it. I'm like, wait, what is going
Yeah.
on? Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like this is really happening.
It's
And
it's
so
it's mhm, mhm. Yeah. Try to get to.
right and left brain. And
It's
uh
interesting.
and that's how I get into the higher states of consciousness.
It's interesting because earlier I remember you talk about the girls and being young and being and like and just being orgasmic, having orgasmic feeling and in partaking, in the sacred mushroom. It's like for me, like it's like you get to see what's really going on. You know how potentially you can really feel and what's really going on, orgasmic on another level. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because it's like being numb, I would say, or being just tamed in this third dimension. You can only and being trapped to your senses, your normal senses. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? You don't you can't even think about how there's other potential senses out there and potential
Oh yeah.
powers that you have to tap into those senses. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? It's an amazing thing. I was wondering now. I remember Baba Kalindi was I remember listening to him. He was saying that like back in the day, mushrooms were connected to everything. He said like tantra, people used to drop the shrooms and get the tantra on. People used to drop the shrooms, do martial arts. Yeah, he was just like, yo, you don't understand. Like he was breaking it down like, all the stuff in Egypt that if you look at now, you had no two was just mushroom based right behind it. He broken all the stuff down. That it is that true about tantra as well? Was that something that was utilized in tantra?
Yes. I don't heavily rely on it. I sort of kind of
Yeah.
do it on a from a ritualistic standpoint.
Yeah.
You have some individuals, that's their daily get down. That's how they
Really?
connect. Um, so it just kind of depends on the individual. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it kind
Hmm.
of depends on the individual.
Hmm.
But for me, it's more of a ritualistic type of thing because
Yeah.
it's still external way to get to something that you can do naturally. And so it's almost
Yeah.
like a cheat code.
Cheat code.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a good way to
yeah.
put it.
It's
That is
almost
a good
like
way
a
to put
cheat
it.
code, which is cool. I don't knock nobody. That's what works for them. The only thing for me is I noticed it fired up my neurosensors at
Hmm.
such a high rate
Hmm.
that when I come down off of it, it kind of has a
Yeah.
pulling
A down
effect.
effect. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
100%. I agree 100%. It's not a good feeling. Yeah.
Thing that I noticed that kind of has a dragging effect on me after the
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
I kind of say I try to stay away from or I don't
Yeah.
indulge. Same thing with herb. I do it from a what do you call that socialness,
Hmm.
social
Hmm.
standpoint per se and whatnot.
Hmm.
But it also has a pulling effect on me over time and whatnot. Yeah, and then plus
Yeah.
because I do a lot of uh, active work as far as like just running and playing with
Hmm.
my son. Just I'm
Yeah.
all and so I need to make sure I keep my wind on point and whatnot.
Yeah. It's definitely
Yeah.
gonna pull you back. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and sex, you know what I'm saying? I remember I was listening to this old tape. Bobby Hemmett was talking about like he said he was like, when I had sex with what do you say? When I had sex with me and the missus, he said we got them hips are bumping. It would start thunderstorming. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was just talking about like the energy, in sex. Like, could you kind of talk about like that aspect of how energy works between two people and the power, what how that comes along with sex? Hmm.
sex is everything, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual energy, that's the purest essence of who and what we are. That's the
Yeah.
purest that's the purest essence of all of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you speak of, the male and female, divine masculine and divine feminine coming together in the ultimate magnetism,
Mm-hmm.
positive and negative, feminine and masculine coming
Mm-hmm.
together, anything can be manifested. So a lot of times
Mm.
people think about just raw sex in itself. Um, it's crazy to say this, but the simplest thing to manifest is life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can manifest anything.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, literally, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, through intercourse, because um, sexual energy and connection can happen from anywhere. I mean, that's what, how distance healing works and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
separation between time and space. That's just
Mm-hmm.
a mental construct
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
to determine distance and, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like put things in
Measurements.
order.
Yeah.
But I could be here and anywhere else on this planet and throughout the
Mm-hmm.
universe at any one time. And so
Mm.
when people understand that, so that sexual connection, that big bang, any reality you want to create, that puts things into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
Just like shrooms are the cheat code to connect to the
Mm-hmm.
the right brain and tap into the different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
That sexual energy would take us on a ride that, especially we start talking about high level orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Master Yao, he mentions he has a phrase called ESR, which is extended sexual response.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into those orgasmic waves, you can guide a man, that's in his divine, fully in his divine masculine. He can guide a
Mm-hmm.
woman into an orgasmic wave where she's
Mm.
having orgasms every 8/10 of a second, and this can go on for hours at a time.
Good
And
gracious.
so, and in that state, when you talk about like the God molecule or the
Yeah.
being in heaven, that's heaven,
Yeah.
because at this point now everything is, you directing and moving things, and making things materialize literally,
Mm-hmm.
at the speed of thought. Yeah, and so we talk about that. I got that. I love when they talk about the Big Bang. The whole
Yeah.
universe was created, and
Mm-hmm.
so and the thing is, our existence. We have our own universe that we exist in this
Mm-hmm.
space, and so this life. We're creating, everything's in orbit around us,
Mm-hmm.
and so and whatever we want to see in our space, we have the ability to create that, because when we tap into our God-like nature,
Mm-hmm.
sex, sexual energy or orgasmic energy, that's the closest thing to the creator's energy that you can, that we have. And it
Mm-hmm.
gives us the ability to create anything we want in
Mm-hmm.
life, in the next lives moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, there's no greater power than that. And then, not to mention, it actually is a pretty pleasurable experience at the same time. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I can imagine. Good gracious, man! An orgasm every when you 8/10 of a second. Good gracious, I can see them floating off. You know what I'm saying? Good
Oh,
gracious,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
that's something serious. No wonder. Is that some of
That
the stuff that
energy.
I'm? Yeah, is that some of the stuff that we seeing when we seeing like you doing your energy work? That type of is
The work that you've seen me that I show
uh-huh.
is kind of like basic type stuff, because
Okay.
of the personal nature because there's people like, wow, you're doing some amazing things, and I'm like, well, no, I'm just showing some stuff. I can't show you like the real in-depth type stuff,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this tantra space, um, it has the basic orgasmic type of things, but when you start going to the deeper levels and the higher levels, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're talking about erasing epigenetic curses. You're talking about having
Yeah.
tapping into different realms. You're talking about
Mm-hmm.
having different entities come in and sit in on the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's, yeah.
and so publicly, I don't really, you know, The thing is, I don't really like videotaping my work anyway, because it kind of takes away from the intimacy. And then when people know they're being recorded, it has a tendency to kind of block the energy as well. Yeah. And so, I'm thankful for the ones that have, my queen, volunteering.
Mm.
Person that taps in on
Yeah.
the live. You say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
that's
so,
real talk, man.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
but it's really interesting just the fact that you said earlier, like using the shrooms as a cheat code because you already know, you have DMT inside yourself, and also just realizing that going back even to we're talking about the whole light beings and etc. If you have a whole like being that could be connected to, the infinite universe, you know what I'm saying? That you're literally, you can do anything inside of that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
As long as you tap in and get everything, tapped in correctly, put in place
mm-hmm,
correctly, from for each part of the template that we were talking about prior. You know what I mean? And then you think about that going back to religious, aspect of just when they said like, um, what they said like that the universe or whatever God is inside you, just in layman terms, and you
mm-hmm.
think about that and you're like makes perfect sense, you know it's just a matter of connecting the dots, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
because the biggest wool that was pulled over our eyes was to separate. I think for us to think that we're separate from God,
yeah,
that
yeah,
God was
exactly,
some kind of external being to us.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
once you do that, you disempower. You take away
Mm,
anybody's personal power because everybody's looking to
mm,
something outside of themselves, not realizing that
mm.
every answer that you need to whatever's
Is
going on
inside,
is
is
inside of us.
inside. Yeah,
All we have to
yeah,
do is go deep and pull it out.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
thing is,
even
99% of the time, we already know what the answer is. A
yeah,
lot of times, we just don't
exactly.
want to do it.
And it's a trip now. It's a trip because I remember back in the day, Dr. York, he used to talk about how you could become whole like beings and become shams and ships and stuff like that. And I'm saying to myself, back then you can't even imagine that. But even what we're talking about now, it makes perfect sense. It seems completely realistic that, being able to take this vessel and make it a vessel that can traverse not only time and space, but to traverse time and space and dimensions. It makes perfect sense because you're all a part of it.
Oh yeah,
You know,
oh
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Yeah,
yeah.
tell you, man.
Because in this moment, I mean, we experience our past, present, and our future. One
Yeah,
of the things
man.
I really came into the understanding of that was within my quantum touch course, where they
Okay.
start talking about going in and healing our past lives, or
Wow.
our healing the younger us, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah,
seeing
yeah.
the effects of it in our present day experiences.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's heavy,
And that's
man.
when I really came and started to really understand what that looked like, and
Yeah.
then even tapping into our future selves,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
our future selves coming back and coming to talk to us, and it was a trip, like experiencing that within the class and whatnot, and within time and space,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and really affect change. And so, even within the practice, because there's a lot of things that I do that on the surface level, but then depending on what a person needs, then we can go deep and apply different aspects of the healing process that are
Mhm.
applicable to whatever their challenges are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, man. So, okay. It's interesting because we were talking about sexual expression. I mean, yeah, sexual expression, but also we were talking about religion because I think about what you were saying earlier, and I immediately think about sexual suppression, and I think about like Islam. Like you said, no shade on Islam. It's all good, but I think about, the customs of Islam is just shutting everything down with the females, or even a lot of the Christian sects. You know what I'm saying? Or any religious, really all of them religions. It's like no, you do this, you certain age, but in essence, it's still that's counterproductive because on the other side, if I'm not, tell me if I'm wrong, they should be teaching they should be feeding that aspect of the divine feminine coming along with the embracing sexuality.
Yeah, well, that's how you control folks.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when
quite
you
simply.
shut people
Simply
down,
put, right?
well, through sexual suppression,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
now you shut down independent thought. Now
Mm-hmm.
you shut down independent. Now you shut down creativity. Now you
Mm-hmm.
shut down um, a person. It's easy to control somebody when
Yeah,
they're sexually suppressed because
that makes
now
perfect
they're
sense.
not thinking outside the box. They're just taking what's
Mm-hmm.
being fed to them
Fed to him.
without question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so when you talk about higher level in through sex, especially the higher levels of sexual, sexual expression, sexual alchemy,
Mm-hmm.
it attaches you. It's a direct connection to our God selves and
Mm-hmm.
the Most High.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, um, it starts to it becomes a I don't want to use the word competitor. Maybe I'm using the wrong word, but
Mm-hmm.
it starts to have a person question,
Mm-hmm.
the religious construct that they're existing in, and now it's harder, now it's harder to maintain control over the people through that. And so
So
when you sexually, that's the reason why our religions have that same base
yeah,
of
the same.
shutting
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
down
yeah, yeah. That makes
and
sense.
whatnot, because now you're not questioning the doctrine that's being fed to you.
And then an exact opposite when you go back to all the the like Hindu temples and Hindu text, and when they sitting there showing conversation, them cats getting it in. You know what I'm saying? And they like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They are, full at it, and it makes so much sense as far as being able to just, fully extend and open yourself up, and then you utilize those energies and manifest it into anything you want. It makes so much sense because it's all connected. And it's another thing that disconnect us, just like we talked about earlier, the food, what I'm saying, all these different things. It's like you know it's crazy. And then you do something like take pornography, right? And you throw that in there, and that's really tearing people up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm tell you straight up, man, I remember I would think I was 16 years old when I ever saw any type of pornography. And I remember that because I didn't know what the hell I was like, nobody told me nothing. Somebody said, this back like in the 90s, like, hey, watch this tape. You put the tape in, I just saw the stuff and I was just like, what the, what, what, what the, like literally, you know what I'm saying? Like, what did I just witness? You know what I'm saying? And in it, just being able to use that as a weapon as well. That's rough, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that porn. That's a whole nother level of suppression because it
Yeah,
becomes a sexual diversion, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because now it gets you locked in because it gets people locked in, becomes addicted to the
yeah,
point
yeah,
where um, it overstimulates a person sexually, and then it perverts it to a point where their approach, because a lot of folks learn how to have sex by watching porn, which is
yeah.
probably the worst way
Worse,
to
yeah.
learn about sex and intercourse and things of that nature, because it
Hmm.
takes out the spiritual aspects, it takes out the energetic component,
The
the
connection,
connection
yeah.
that the holistic view or holistic
Hmm.
approach.
Hmm. Hmm.
Able to achieve orgasm through intercourse.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean it's
I saw
insane.
that.
And then
Hmm.
you start looking at the high level sexual dysfunction. A lot of that,
Hmm.
yeah, porn has a big, a big thing, has is a big a major component of that because you have people living in their minds. A lot of times when
Yeah,
people
yeah,
come
yeah,
together
yeah,
to
yeah.
have sex nowadays, they ain't really having sex with each other. They just having mutual masturbation.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
just
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
see how
I
they
can
can,
completely see
how each
that.
one can get off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they not really there with each other. The woman
Hmm.
sitting there, she thinking about, uh, uh,
Hmm.
uh, uh, Adonis or Antonio or somebody like that. And was thinking of Belinda, from
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they not there with each other. There's no
yeah.
no attention in that space, and
Hmm.
so that the delusion, it creates a delusion
Yeah,
and a lack of
yeah,
intimacy, and then you start adding in just the electronic age that we're in. Everybody sitting on their phones. Man, go to a restaurant nowadays. Man,
yeah.
anybody talking to each other, they looking at their phone. They're taking pictures
Hmm.
of the food and shit like that. They
Hmm.
ain't there
Hmm.
with each other and
Yeah, it
really
ain't about, yeah,
communicate.
yeah, yeah, they ain't
Yeah,
vibing. Yep.
and so that point of thing is also it feeds the psyche.
Hmm.
It creates a situation where out and being a whole nother, a
Yeah.
whole nother realm.
Hmm.
Because the thing is, what you can't, the brain can't differentiate between a dream and reality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so when you tap into this, this virtual reality, now these people are, mentally checking out
yeah,
and going to go. That's why I was like, because at first I was like, man, what in the hell? We gonna buy some space, some land, some virtual land. They sell it. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I start really digging deep and coming into the understanding that earlier this year when I kind of took a monetary detour
hmm,
into the AI space.
hmm,
And I needed to do that though because it helped bring me up to speed on things that I wasn't paying attention to,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
being
yeah,
in the holistic space. But the thing is, everything has to have balance, and so
exactly.
and I started really having an understanding of what this metaverse stuff is about, this augmented reality and virtual reality, and how big that's going to become, and to the point where people are going to start checking out
Yeah.
of this reality and going to
Hmm.
exist in them worlds because now it
Hmm.
can be whatever they want to
Yeah,
fantasize
yeah.
about. Yeah. So you talk about a
Like,
real
oh,
life matrix. Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm about to say, like, oh boy, remember the Matrix movie? And oh boy, when he ratted old boys out, he's like, put me back in. I don't remember nothing. You know what I'm saying? I just, make me a movie star. You know what I'm saying? Going back to sleep and just going inside, the computer, man. You know what I'm saying? It's, and a lot of people do that still today through drugs, through alcohol, whatever the case may be. But it's yeah, man. So well, in saying all this, how can the people connect to you specifically? What do you have as far as because I know you got your thing going on. How can the people connect to you for for your services?
Just go to iamjeffrey.org. So
Okay.
EYEAM, then Jeffrey, JFFREY.org.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
That's cool.
my links are there, and then they can connect to me in any way, any fashion they think that works for them.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. Like personally, like dealing with the energy work that you do, does it matter like a male working on a female or a female working a male? Does that matter at all? Is it you get better benefits from it sometimes, or the individual, or could you kind of talk about that?
If you're working from Tantra space specifically,
Uh,
that's a polarity.
okay,
Um, that's polarity. So male, female, masculine, feminine.
gotcha, gotcha,
Um, and that's purely based on a sexual energy.
gotcha.
And so,
That makes sense.
yes, you can
That makes
have
sense.
same sexes working on each other. For men, when you do that, it kind of puts you in a each other out over time.
I got you. I got you.
And then with women, it has a tendency. Women can work on one another more so than men can, but it does something to them energetically over time as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Usually, um, um, when you see like male working on a man working on a man, or same sexes working on each other, they're usually not necessarily doing tantra per se. They're usually doing like heart work or Reiki
Gotcha.
or some other
I got
form
you.
of energy work.
That's different. Yeah.
Because like from the outside looking in, you can't really tell outside of the fact that they're not having an orgasm.
Yeah, I
but
got
they can have some pretty profound responses on the
you.
table, especially if depending on the types of blockages that they have, because that's what
Mhm,
you're really seeing. We see people jumping all off the table
mhm,
and gritting their teeth and doing all the other extra stuff. A lot of times, those are blockages that are being broken because once
mm.
when I have a client that's in a full orgasmic wave, she's not doing a whole lot of movement per se. It's more of a kind of a snake motion because that's the
Okay.
energy. That's the way the energy flows through the body.
Ah, makes sense.
Like heart orgasms, which are probably the most profound.
Mhm.
And then they also have your throat ejaculations and things like that.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
And so, I mean, some pretty amazing things happen once a person's fully opened up and really, really connected, from root to crown
Yeah,
and
okay. I
beyond.
got you. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah.
perfect sense. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like we're all disconnected and sick, and just the more and more we do these things, the more we just get realigned with the different layers of our being to
Mhm.
become in unison. And it's like seems like it's just like anything else. You just have to consistently, like maintenance. You have to consistently do it because every life will just make it, come disconnected.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes perfect sense. Well, man, woo, I learned a lot tonight, and I can't wait to learn much more. You know what I'm saying, y'all? I'm gonna tell you, man, I gotta give all y'all cats props down in Atlanta, boy, and all them areas, like all y'all, all them, DJ Green, Adara, all them cats that are doing that work down there, y'all, you know, it's so beautiful to be in this day and time in which we're starting to be able to heal ourselves with the right knowledge. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? The right information, the right techniques. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing for me to see. And I'm kudos to you, all y'all cats in there, man. We need y'all. Thank y'all for taking this time to incarnate here as as masters. I have to say, as masters of the craft of what y'all are doing to heal the people, man. So kudos to y'all, man. And that's really it on my end. Did you have anything else for the folks? Yes, sir.
And help you to get that knowledge out there because
Hmm.
without you, our voice is only limited to whatever our platform is. So I
Hmm.
appreciate you, creating the platform, creating the space, for us, to speak out to your audience and then spread the word because this isn't like for me, it's not so much what I do, it's what the world needs to know.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
This is a ministry for me, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and so um, my thing is, each one teach one,
Indeed.
just to sow that seed, so folks, start. They can take like a little bit. They took pull just one
Hmm.
little piece of whatever that we talked about today, and they go and start, digging and
Exactly.
using that, to help in their evolution.
Hmm.
Then I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate you creating, this platform with all the knowledge that you offer, man. And it's diverse, not just one dimensional. And that's what I really
Hmm.
appreciate when I was looking at some past episodes. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, because
Yeah, man.
I love that. I'm an information junkie. I
Yeah,
like to just
yeah,
feed
yeah,
my
yeah,
mind and
yeah.
feed my soul. And man, you got good stuff, brother. Good stuff.
I appreciate you,
Yeah.
man. Hey, man, as you as well, I've experienced a lot of things, experienced a lot of people. I tell people a lot of people trip on a lot of things. I'm gonna tell you, man, been around this globe. I've seen a lot of beautiful people inside of different avatars and a bunch of wretched people in different avatars. You know what I'm saying? So, that's, once you can get to a level of just seeing how things are and realize there's more beyond this, that's a good place to be. I have to
Oh
say,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, and I appreciated like-minded individuals like you that can help as well, man. But that's it, man. Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. If you haven't already, please follow, like, and share, and stay tuned. I'm gonna be ramping up some more episodes soon. You know what I'm saying? And doing some changes. Melanated music is still in the house. You know what I'm saying? And my book, still working on my book, trying to get all the things taken care of. But if you haven't already, please go to polkadot.rabbitpodcast.com and pick up my book,
Yeah, I
Bicultural.
gotta grab that.
Living and Leaving the World of Illusions. Answers a lot of questions of why, just like the brother was saying, how I like diversity in life. You know what I'm saying? On
Oh
many
yeah.
levels, you know what I'm saying? But that's it for me. Please, if you haven't already, please follow the good brother I Am Jeffrey. You know what I'm saying? Check out his IamJeffrey.org, all that good stuff. And we out of here. You good? We
All
out of
right,
here.
peace and blessings, brother.
All right,
Peace.
peace.